We should worry more about your lack of candor. You're accusing me of committing perjury. Tell the American people how I broke the law and committed a felony. Have the audacity to actually put the facts forward instead of lying for political banter so you can have a 20-second donation hit.
The answer is both.
Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania did not come into this hearing to shout. She came in with the record, a budget request, a quote from the Trump administration, Kash Patel's own book, a list of names, a deleted post, and the arrest of a judge in Wisconsin. Dean is a Democrat, a lawyer, and one of the House managers from Donald Trump's second impeachment. So when she asked the FBI director when she should expect agents at her door, it was not a stunt. It was the central question: is the FBI being protected from political weaponization or placed inside it? Watch how Dean builds the case.
I've been looking at the president's 120-word FBI budget request, the so-called skinny, I'll call it Ozempic request, that states that, quote, the undoing of the weaponization of the FBI is one of the administration's top priorities. The weaponization of the FBI that is something that deeply concerns me. It should concern all of us. And yet, since taking office, President Trump has been on a revenge tour. He has targeted individuals, universities, law firms, with executive orders to cut them out or to make them come under his will. He has used ICE to disappear U.S. citizens without due process, and he's fully ignored a unanimous Supreme Court order, and then over the weekend wasn't sure if he was obligated to uphold the Constitution of the United States. In your book, your recent book, Government Gangsters, you include an appendix with a list of names that people have referred to as an enemies list. Now, I know you will claim it's just an appendix, not an enemies list. So let's focus on how the president sees it, on what the president calls it. And you proudly display his quote on the front cover of your book. The president calls this a brilliant roadmap, a blueprint. And I have not even raised your storied children's book, The Plot Against the King. It concerns me how many people from this blueprint have been targeted with executive orders and FBI investigations. The FBI cannot be weaponized, and under your leadership, it has been nothing but a weapon alongside the president to go after the president's perceived opponents, to stifle dissent and free speech. A few weeks ago, as we saw through a social media post that you quickly deleted, the FBI arrested a judge in Wisconsin for correctly asking ICE officials if they had a judicial warrant instead of an administrative warrant, which they did not have. Despite this judge following the law, on the morning of April the 25th, the FBI arrested the judge in an escalation of the weaponization of the FBI under your leadership. Let me be clear. A functioning democracy does not lock up judges. I am gravely concerned about the utter lack of independence of the FBI and its weaponization under your leadership. I am concerned that the president is using this book, your book, as a blueprint, as he has said. It's a blueprint for revenge. And I am concerned that your eagerness, a childlike giddiness to carry out the president's revenge tour, you've shown yourself to be unserious in your statements before you were sworn in and some after. You've shown yourself unfit to lead this important agency. I was an impeachment manager for President Trump's second impeachment. It was a sad, solemn duty. And so I wanted to ask you about that. Mr. Patel, as you and the president continue to weaponize and investigate his perceived enemies, as you follow this blueprint, when can I, a former impeachment manager, expect the FBI at my door?
Ma'am, you want to know who was targeted by a weaponized FBI? Me. You want to know how and why?
Well,
you want to know what I'm doing to fix it?
That. Let me move on.
Well, you should read the book because there's no enemies list on that book. There are people that violated their constitutional obligations and their duties to the American people, and they were rightly called out. And you should give that book to every one of your constituents so they can read about it.
I won't be doing that.
That's their loss.
During your Senate confirmation hearings, you repeatedly denied having any involvement as a private citizen in the firing of FBI officials who engaged in the prosecution against January 6 insurrectionists, the violent rioters who beat and killed Capitol police officers, and whom you referred to as political prisoners. Since then, multiple whistleblowers have come forward, and we know that you likely committed perjury. At the same hearing, you claimed you were not familiar with Stu Peters, an anti-Semitic Holocaust denier, despite the fact that you appeared on Mr. Peters' podcast 8 separate times. 8 times. And you claimed not to recall. Mr. Patel, my second question is, should we worry more about your memory or your veracity?
We should worry more about your lack of candor. You're accusing me of committing perjury. Tell the American people how I broke the law and committed a felony. Have the audacity to actually put the facts forward instead of lying for political banter so you can have a 20-second donation hit.
The answer is both. I believe that
the answer is you're failing, not me.
I my time.
Go ahead.
Mr. Patel, I believe that the members of the FBI, and I know many of them, many retired, 38,000 people, as you say, it's a little less than that now, deserve the very best, deserve extraordinary independence, deserve freedom from the fears of being investigated, the freedom of coming forward to make sure they're doing their job. And I'll end with this, that I think it's interesting that in your proposal today, you find yourself at a gulf of difference between you and the president. I wonder how you will resolve that. Will you go to the president and say we need $11.2 billion, not what you cut out of here? You're asking for more than $1 billion than the president's request. Are you going to go to the president and straighten out that gulf?
I'll do what I've always done and represent the American people, defend this country, and make sure the Constitution is always upheld and the FBI is never weaponized. Maybe you should do the same.
So you agree with the president when he says he doesn't know if he should uphold his constitutional duty?
If you want to just keep putting words in my mouth, the TV cameras are outside.
I thank you. I yield back. Again, this is an unserious moment, sadly, for the FBI. I yield back.
More so for you.
This clip turns a routine budget hearing into a warning about federal power. The Trump administration says it wants to undo the weaponization of the FBI. Dean's argument is that under Trump and Kash Patel, that promise has become something else, not a cleanup, a redirection. She builds the case through the record. The budget request, Patel's book, Government Gangsters. The appendix critics have described as an enemies list, Trump's own words on the cover, calling it a roadmap and a blueprint. Then she puts those words into a timeline. Executive orders, investigations, a Wisconsin judge arrested on April 25th, and a deleted post from Patel himself. One incident can be explained away. One arrest can be called procedure. One investigation can be defended as standard practice. But when names, grievances, threats, and federal power keep appearing together, the issue becomes a pattern. Dean's sharpest question is personal, but not only personal. She reminds Patel that she was a House impeachment manager during Trump's second impeachment. Then she asks when she should expect the FBI at her door. That line makes abuse of power concrete. If someone can be targeted later for holding a president accountable, the chilling effect does not stop in Congress. It reaches judges, lawyers, universities, local officials, and citizens who need law enforcement to be neutral. Patel's answer does not resolve that fear. He says he was targeted by a weaponized FBI. He denies that his book contains an enemies list. He says the people named violated constitutional duties, but he does not draw a clean line between grievance and federal authority. He does not explain how the Bureau would prevent retaliation when Trump's praise is cited as a blueprint. Then Dean moves to sworn testimony. She raises his Senate confirmation hearing. She raises the firing of FBI officials connected to January 6th cases. She raises whistleblowers. She raises Stu Peters. And she asks whether the problem is Patel's memory or his veracity. That is the legal pressure point. Sworn testimony enters the permanent record. It tests whether the FBI director can answer questions about candor, conflicts, and prior statements without turning oversight into a political counterattack. Patel fires back. He accuses Dean of lacking candor. He says she is lying for a donation clip. That may work as combat, but it does not answer the institutional question. The FBI is not supposed to belong to a president. It is not supposed to become a revenge file, a loyalty test, or a memory hole. Dean did not prove every allegation, but she placed names, dates, sworn testimony, deleted statements, and federal power into the same timeline. And once something is in the record, it stays. It waits for an answer.